Hi, my name is Jair Bula, and if you want to learn more about my solo performance of Queer, Drag, Drugs, and a Tick Tock Clock, just watch this video. I fell in love with theater, let's see, maybe when I was 15 or 16 years old when I first started taking my first acting class. It was just, I got to see some really great artists perform, and their passion and their presence was just so, I just thought it was amazing. And I said to myself, that's what I want to do one day, get on stage and be able to do what they're doing and have that impact on other people the way they had an impact on me. So yeah, that was the beginning. I started writing a solo show when I was back in college. It was actually our, I guess, thesis per se for our bachelor's degree in theater performance. We had to write a one-person show based on a historical figure and or historical-ish, I guess. And we had to do everything for it. We had to write it, we had to produce it, we had to act in it, and I mean, we had some help. We had like stage managers and stuff. So that's when I began my interest in writing and interest as a solo performer. And I don't think it's become an obsession yet, but it's getting there. It's so this piece is actually my second solo show that I've written, and this time around I've based it on myself and on my life, and it's become really like a healing process for me to be able to put all these things on paper and then look at them later or as I'm reading them and learning them, I'm like wow, like you really become aware of some of these like old thought patterns that really are not serving you anymore. So yeah, so I would say in the last 3 or 4 years is when writing really has become a big part of my life. Yeah, I mean, I've always written poetry and things like that, but I never really considered myself to be like a writer until recently. So theater is unique because it's live, it's live and it's life happening right in front of your eyes, and there's no going back. If you make a mistake, you just have to keep going or make it part of the show. And that connection that you feel with the audience, or the connection they feel with you, which I guess it would be the case in live streaming, right? Like they may not necessarily be there, but there's definitely an audience watching you on the other side, and they're being affected by what you're doing. So that part of it is what's so unique to me, and also, every performance is different. So everyone has different reactions different nights, so it's never the same. It's live. And that's pretty much it. Life is unpredictable. First solo piece I wrote, it was again back in school, back in Miami, in Florida International University. I began that process with a lot of research. The name of that play is titled "I Am," and it's based on a biblical story. On that, there's a passage in the Bible that talks about Jesus and when he went into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, and he was tempted by the devil 3 times, and then after he overcame the temptations, he went on to fulfill his mission as most of us know it, and so that particular process began with that story. And then I started doing more research on the topic and researching other books, and not only the Bible, but also looking at apocryphal gospels, books that had been banned from the Catholic Church or from the Christian Church, and taking some of those ideas and some of those concepts and making it part of the story. So in that particular play, you know, Jesus had a wife and he had kids and, you know, all these things that, you know, they tell us that, you know, never happened, you know, or we don't know if they happened. So for that particular process, I definitely borrowed from those older stories and used them as inspiration to create that piece. For this particular piece, because it's based on my life and coming to terms with my queer identity, I actually began the process by taking a writing workshop with Juliette, who is now my director for the piece. And, you know, initially I wanted to do the Fringe last year doing I Am, the Jesus piece, but she kind of like nudged me to write more about myself and to kind of go in that direction of exploring myself and exploring, you know, what I had to say, what my life pretty much had to say on paper. So that process was just me writing beginning to end what my life has been like. And sooner than later, I began to see that there was a theme. And that theme was, you know, queer identity for me, which has been the theme of my life and that struggle that I've dealt with my entire life pretty much. And that's how the play was born. Through just exploring my life and writing it down and putting things in chronological order, and then seeing, okay, so this starts here, this ended up here, and then this moved on to this. So that's how the story was created, pretty much. I heard about the Hollywood Fringe Festival back in 2019. I wanted to do a different show, like I mentioned, and I had just moved to Los Angeles and I wanted to be active in my community. I wanted to get to know my community, and I hadn't done theater in some time, and I just felt like, you know what, it's time. It's time to get on stage. I'm in a new city. This sounds exciting. It sounds like it's gonna be a lot of work, but it's probably gonna be worth it. And yeah, so then I started attending the Hollywood Fringe meetings in the town halls, and I started to get more and more excited about it. And I think, like meeting all the other artists and talking to them and about their process and about their shows, like it got me really excited and really hooked into wanting to do the Fringe. And unfortunately, last year couldn't happen. So this year I'm like, okay, we have to make this happen somehow. You know, pandemic or no pandemic, we're gonna make this happen. Actually, Matthew Quinn is the first person I believe I met during one of the town hall meetings for the Fringe, one of the Fringe town hall meetings. And so that's how I found out about Asylum, just through Matt. And to be honest, as I was looking at different spaces to have to do my show, the Stephanie Fury space was the one that called out to me the most, just because it's intimate, and you know, a solo show, they tend to, I think personally they do better in more intimate spaces, and I wanted that intimacy. I wanted to be able to have audience near me and tell them my story. It's such a personal story of mine, and I think because it's so personal, that intimacy became even more important to have. So yeah, that was my thought process in picking that particular space to perform. Queer drag, drugs, and a Tick Tock Clock began with me. It began with my struggle with accepting myself as a queer man. I was born in South America, in Colombia, and people there, and like in a lot of Latin countries and like in a lot of places in the world, they have been one way and they want things to stay that way for the rest of eternity. And people that are queer or different from the status quo, they suffer. And luckily for me, I migrated to the United States when I was 10, and I was able to learn a different life, and see a different perspective. And so the story was born from my struggle, from that internal struggle with myself, which was led me to a lot of like depression and anxiety, and led me to make a lot of life decisions that, you know, that created suffering for me. And so the story began with that struggle, and with me wanting to find some sort of healing from this and some sort of resolution to the struggle, because it's been long enough, and I want to be happy, and I want to share my story with the world, because I think that some people might identify, and those that don't identify can then have some sort of, can at least empathize with, you know, with folks from the LGBTQ plus community, and with our struggle and what we go through, and just have a little bit more compassion for people. So long-winded answer, it started with me. So the play, actually I wrote this play during quarantine. So it starts in that moment, in the moment of isolation. I spent quarantine by myself. I barely saw people. And I was really forced to like face myself during that time. And I'm glad that I had writing to kind of be my, you know, my partner during it, because I was able to put my story onto paper. But yeah, so it starts with me in that moment during quarantine, when I'm facing myself in those hard questions. And it goes on to the beginning of where I was born, and my background, and where I come from, and kind of giving people that the picture of, this is where I come from, and this is why I had these thoughts of self-rejection, because this is what I was taught. And then it goes on to my experiences as I got older, my queer experiences as I got older, and that included doing drag, you know, dressing up as a woman and going to the clubs and experiencing what that was like, you know, and along with that came drugs and what all of that was like. So you see me develop, you see me going from a state of not accepting myself to then fully accepting myself, or trying to, at least in an unhealthy manner. And then, not that drag is unhealthy, but when you begin to use something as a way of to fill a void, and you begin to use that as a way to sort of addictively, and also along with the drugs, it's not healthy. So I go from that then to going back into the closet and talking about what that was like. And throughout this whole piece, you also see my internal struggle is, I've symbolized it with two characters, an angel and a demon, you know, and so that internal struggle becomes those two fighting throughout the piece. And as we go through the story, I begin to then let go of some of that old patterns and negativity, and begin to learn new thoughts, and begin to learn new ways of seeing myself and loving myself. I begin to step into the beginning of self-love and self-acceptance throughout the piece. And then that's kind of the arc. I would want the audience, to be entertained. I want them to be moved, and I want them to um, to either identify with the struggle, which I think a lot of people can identify with, and with an internal struggle about ourselves and self-acceptance. I think we all go through that in one way or another, whether you're part of the LGBTQ plus community or not. So I would want people to be entertained. I would want people to identify, or if not, empathize with those of us who are struggling, and maybe, and just maybe, the world and society can just be that much of a better place. I think when we practice empathy towards others, especially those people that we don't understand, I think that we begin to open lines of communication, and we begin to embrace everyone and truly and evolve. People should come see Queer, Drag, and Drugs in a Tick Tock Clock, because it's a roller coaster of a story. It's funny, it's sad, it's ironic, and it's a story that I think people will identify with, and you'll walk away from it feeling elated and entertained. I'm looking to have a lot of fun, and for other people to have as much fun as I am. It's a festival, so we're there to celebrate theater, and we're there to celebrate life, and to just, I think theater really gives us understanding into other people's psyches, and that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that myself, I'm able to hoping to catch up as many shows as I can, enjoy many stories, and hoping that people will do the same with mine, and celebrate life and celebrate artistry and theater. And I mean, this is a special Fringe too. We're in the middle of a pandemic still, even though things are slowly getting better. But this is a special time for us to be doing theater, and to be doing it in this way. I think it's brave of us to be the pioneers of this, right? In a way, whether people are either catching it live or if they're watching a live stream, you know, these shows, they really are very unique. These stories, everybody brings in either personal stories or plays that they've written, or adaptations of other pieces that I don't think you'll see anywhere else. And I think that's the uniqueness of the Fringe. So for that reason, I think people should come and watch it, because you may experience something here that you may not get anywhere else. And for that reason alone, definitely venture into coming to see the Hollywood Fringe and support the artist and the theater. And I think also because we need support in the theater community right now. You know, these events they're so unique, and it's important for us to keep it alive, because we want to hear people's stories. You know, we want to be able to connect, and just, you know, seeing these shows, they sort of give you a different perspective on life that otherwise you may not even begin to explore, you know. But these shows, you know, they're full with so much passion and hard work that it just, you can't help but expand your soul and your knowledge and your perception of life. And I think that's what theater does. And I think that's what this festival does. And for that reason, it's so important that we keep it alive. It's so important that we support it. And it's just fun. Who doesn't love a festival? You know, I think local theaters are important because, you know, I think as human beings, we need a variety of things to do and watch. There's only so much TV you can watch. There's only so many movies you can watch. But a live show, and I mentioned this earlier, a live show is something that is, again, alive. and it's happening right in front of your eyes, and it's unpredictable. It kind of forces you to live in the moment, and along with the actors on stage. And that feeling, that interaction, that connection is something so unique that only happens in that moment, which I don't think any other form of entertainment does. Maybe a live concert will do the same. So, and even though some of these stories get repeated in different theaters, but again, it's a different cast every time, different experience every time. And for that reason, I think we should keep it alive and support it, and you know, and just keep it going. I just want the audience to know that this is my experience, that this is my particular experience. My experience is mine. I think what happens, especially with people who uh, may not be on the same boat as far as the LGBTQ plus community and their issues and concerns. I think that I just want people to keep an open mind, to come to see the show, keep an open mind, keep an open heart. My story does not negate your story, or necessarily, I was going to say your beliefs, but I think might negate some people's beliefs. I want people just to come with an open mind and an open heart, and have fun and enjoy. My name is Jair Bula, and my new solo show, Queer, Drag, Drugs, and a Tick Tock Clock, will be doing its world premiere at the Hollywood Fringe Festival 2021. So come check it out. If you can attend in person, it will be live streamed as well. It's exciting, it's fun, it's sad, it's happy, it's a roller coaster, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it.